filters. I bet there's a noise filter on this. Good quality, more CPUs. Okay, that sounds good. Ah, that actually looks pretty good, bearing in mind that my printer's printing at the moment. We've got YouTube. I've been told that people have been lurking, and I have not seen my YouTube stream, so that's about right. Live now, that's me, the Cris Goblins. Ha 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 ha. Alright. If my printer wasn't so loud, but there you go, you can't have everything. Man, my printer is really loud. Okay, so, good play. Fingers crossed. Okay, let's prepare the shader. Now there's a lot of improvements that I'm seeing already at this edge. Oh, look at that. Fully procedural, okay, voxel based. So it's only generated actually, you know, playtime from a recipe. So this is like not the usual kind of thing that I do. However, it is pretty cool. God, I wish this printing was done. Literally pulling my head in. Okay, so that's pretty tight. I'm actually liking that a lot. Probably could do with putting a first-person character into this so I can walk around and test it, rather than flying, but all in all, pretty good. Okay, I've got my enormous document I just printed. Kind of nice, I've noticed Mike Hawks now actually has been quite low, so hopefully, I want to ask a friend of mine if you can pop on and just tell me if the sound is a little bit better. I always feel a little bit skeezy asking people if they wouldn't mind doing that, but I'll ask them anyway. Right, so I have sent over a quick message to Decryption, who is an excellent Unreal Engine tutor, really good, and I'm hoping that he's going to pop into the stream. Oh, bless his heart. So we should, fingers crossed, get an idea of whether or not this sound filter is working a bit better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and surprise him. Hey, there's Decryption there. Hey, Decryption, can you hear me okay? I realise that I'm kind of advertising your skills to approximately myself and you, unfortunately, but I just need to see if, you know, the audio is working a little bit better than it was. I've got a filter on. I'm using a fairly high thing. A little staticky. Okay, I'm just going to try a different filter. One sec. Filters. So I'm using RNN noise. Let's try Speaks, which is a ridiculous name. Is that any better? It kind of reduces the noise a little bit by the sounds of things. Otherwise, what I might have to do is get some sort of a plug-in between myself and the microphone. The problem is that my actual computer case... Oh, well, that's good. Because the actual computer case itself has, like, I think a 10-inch fan on top of it. It looks like the kind of thing that Anakin Skywalker would fly around. It's enormous. Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks, Decryption. Hey, do you want to see something cool? I don't know whether you approve of, like, use of AI stuff or not, and that's entirely up to you. You know, I fully agree with everyone who has like a strong stance on AI and people who like it. But I built a system basically to help me with generating voxel-based cities using a recipe inside of Unreal Engine. So basically, I can build my recipes outside of Unreal Engine and send them into UE5, and it builds this. It's pretty cool, actually. So when I want to make modifications, I mean, I started an hour ago. I'll just show you what it used to look like if I can find some pictures. In a second, share X. But absolutely crazy, because the thing is, because I've got this linked into Codex, because what I've done is I've built a Codex between Bridge and Unreal Engine as an actual plugin, which I know will horrify a lot of people, so I do apologise in advance, but I needed it. But what that allows me to do is basically iterate really, really quickly, which I couldn't do before. So as an example, I kind of started here in iteration, and then you can kind of see the pictures as it's kind of iterated through and built on it. And this is all in the space of 2 hours. So basically, as it's came back, I've added new recipes and new recipes and new recipes to this until I've reached the point now where I've got, and again, it's basic, you know, and this isn't anything that I'm actually making into anything at the moment. It's just part of a different project. But I've actually got like a fairly decent, albeit a bit crappy and chunky, voxel city built from, you know, this entire interfaced system, and I can drive it using this as well. So I can actually adjust the city, adjust its economy, and all sorts of things like that using the interface that I've built that connects to Codex, and then Codex comes in and adjusts the voxel settings and adjusts the recipe based on that, and then takes about 3 minutes to rebuild a complete city again. But the idea is I'm trying to sort of, it's a bit more complex than that actually. You're younger than me, so you probably won't remember, but I'm doing an experiment because there was a news article about the video game Dragon Age Origins not being able to be remastered. And I mean, I've got a lot of experience and I've spent a lot of time in the game industry, and I thought, well, if I could build kind of a deterministic set of rules and a reusable methodology where you could go in and basically find out what the core mechanics of a game are without actually having to have the original source code, then you could rebuild any game. So I went and found a game for the Atari ST called Damocles, which was made in 1989, and there's definitely no code for it and the developer's dead. And I ran it through my system, which took 3 weeks of careful kind of examination. Only had the 68000 Motorola code, and now I've got the complete specification on how the entire game was made. And so this can be applied basically to anything as a methodology. So the city you're seeing here is actually the city from the game Damocles. So this is the original architecture from the game Damocles. But back in 1989, he only had the ability to create that one central building because polygon counts were too low. So the road system, the crossroads, and the rest of it all existed, but that building in the middle existed, but the surrounding buildings didn't. And so using voxels and basically using the existing systems that he already had, the architecture he's got for other buildings that exist on other planets and stuff like that, I've been able to create a modern version of his original game using the original, basically the original game design document, which we don't have access to, but that I've been able to determine by pulling it apart and by coming up with this methodology, which I've called C1. It's been great, and technically you can apply it to any lost media, this kind of C1 methodology. It can take months if it's a more complicated title, like, for example, Dragon Age Origins, but it means that technically anyone, if they have a title that they can't access the source code for, would be able to remaster it using this system. So it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. There we go. So that's what I've been doing, Decryption. That's the crazy, weird stuff I've been up to for the past 3 weeks. Close some windows down. And as you can see, because it's all procedurally generated from wherever the heck the thing is, it's not here when the level is not in play mode. It only appears when it is. Oh, and thanks for testing out the microphone and making sure it worked, and obviously chatting the thing. Well, that's it. This is designed for video game preservation. It's not designed for terrible, terrible remakes. I'll just quickly show you this because it's only you in channel, so it doesn't really matter, rather than like, you know, anyone else. But if I go in here into the Damocles file, bear in mind this is a 512K Atari ST disk. Okay, so less than a megabyte. And this is all the data, like all of this lot is all of the data from deconstructing it and doing the vertical recreation slices and doing all the testing and everything like that. So if and I'm not going to be releasing this publicly because the last thing I want is people just bloody, like you say, being able to make really bad remakes of games. The point of this is to be able to make an exact remake of the original game. So like I say, I mean, for that 512K disc, and I think he was using almost all of it, I've got 20 gigs of project files. So this is 20 gigs of evidence that I put together, you know, fully decompiled code, fully decompiled schemas, all of his 3D assets, everything that was inside it, man. It's crazy. Good though. I can also simulate his entire game now on PC. They never got it converted to PC. They tried for ages, and I've actually got a PC version of the game running in its basic form as well, which is kind of fun. Let's see if I can. I don't know if I've got a copy of it knocking around. Yeah, well, this is just the evidence files. Remember what I said though. The whole point is that it's. I mean, you know, you're British, so you know we have a history, especially from Yorkshire, of empirical data and measurements, and it being massively important to have empirical data and measurements. And so, you know, that's what this is about, having evidence, having measurements, having all that kind of thing so that it's completely accurate. And yeah, so that's kind of what's happened. Don't know if I've got any build state office, run state office family. Let's see what we've got here. Yeah, so I built loads and loads of these horrible little things here, basically to test data. It's not very exciting to look at, but at the same time it kind of works. Launch Damocles CR1 bat. Let's see if this works. Probably not. Crikey, I've got so much stuff here, man. Trying to remember what it all is a nightmare. Ah, DRP1 basic. There we go. So here it is. So this is the original Amiga game. This is the original code deconstructed and then working inside of just JS. So this is JavaScript. So on the right there is the limousine which you take from the airfield when you first land in Damocles. And then if I go inside here, this is the original kind of state office HQ. And you can pick up like the objects. So there's the Damocles file collected. And go up in the elevator. These games are janky as hell, by the way, so there we go, we'll go up to the first floor. So, it's crazy. Yeah, it wasn't easy. Actually getting to this phase took 2.5 weeks. But like I say, now the entire game can run just in Java. You know, it's like it's like a 1 meg Java file that can run. I'm not going to release it because it's not mine. Like, under no circumstances will I ever be releasing Damocles. But what I'm going to do is, because his sister's still alive and she owns the rights to it, I'm just going to send her all this information because it might be interesting for another coder if ever they look at the Damocles code. It'll give them an idea of how Paul did his stuff. Because this was pre, like, before people actually worked out how to do polygons in games properly. So instead of using like polygons like you and I do inside of Unreal Engine, what he's using is he's using 4-point arrays where certain points are linked to other 4-point arrays, and they're stored as 4-character records in a catalog that's all compiled inside of this. So basically all of the doors and all of the walls are just rectangle strips, which is pretty much what a polygon is. But the way they're connected together and the way they work, they all have a fixed height, so they only have the actual floor plan designed. Okay, so think of a floor plan. They have a set height, and the set height is based from the actual eye height of the user. So basically 170 centimeters plus 50 centimeters, and that's how it calculates where the ceiling is. So it only needs to know the actual floor plan. It doesn't need to know any wall heights. And then sections that are marked for doors or elevators basically have a set height for the door with then a set strip added on top of it. It's crazy. And actually, yeah, that's not a bad idea. I could mention that to her, because it would be a good way to continue his legacy. I found a GitHub that was doing stuff to try and convert it to PC, and they tapered off about 8 or 10 years ago, and all they did really was put a wrap around it. So, I mean, as I say, the difference in this is that we have like a full understanding of how this works. If I go over here, for example, we have, you know, this is the space travel section here, so we've got actually the rebuilt interior. Yeah, that's it. It was all so manual. If you go back and look at Castle and Castle 2, if you ever get time, right, these are like crazy early like 3D games, like 1 FPS goodness. And that's how they worked. They basically just used these rectangular strips. I was kind of lucky because in part I was able to compare against what he'd done against what David Braben and Ian Bell had done with Elite. But at the same time, it was like still absolutely nuts. I mean, check this. This is like the actual flight mechanics from the game. This is just a slice of the flight mechanics here. So I'll just come in and land. There we go. But this is how the flight worked. Basically, there was a simple up-down, and then it was fixed on the elliptical plane. So as I fly away from the building, so the way it looks really weird, and you see what I mean here about the fact there's not many buildings around. There's just like this tree and stuff. Oh, by the way, stop me if I'm boring the crap out of you, Decryption, because I could well do that, to be quite honest, if that wouldn't be the first time. But yeah, you see what I mean? It's like the polygon counts are just absolutely loopy low, and mixed with that, I mean, it's got this real liminal vibe on, because there's just not a lot around, you know? There we go. I should be able to, there. Yeah, it's, I find this fascinating, you know, I really do, because for years, you know, back in like 1989 through to like the mid-90s, I was fascinated by how like Wokes had managed to get all this stuff onto one floppy disk. And being able to actually, I didn't decompile it like I say. What I did was I used evidence-based stuff. So looking at the actual game and then basically running the software but analyzing it simultaneously. So I was literally checking every value as it came through against other things, and I had that heavily automated. And actually finding out how he made it has been absolutely fascinating. Like I say, there was a lot of like a lot of mistakes made, but yeah, this was one, for example, the craft. Like they stay, all stuff stays in the world. And originally I thought that when you went into a building, he basically got rid of the outside world. But then I remembered there's windows in the buildings looking out. So it's like, well, he's loading up the inside world, but you can still see the outside world through the windows. And it turned out what he was doing was he was loading slices of the outside world to preserve memory, because there was so little memory available on the Atari. Absolutely bonkers, man. Absolutely flipping crazy. Oh, hey, do you want to see something cool in, because I haven't shown anyone the, what do you call it, the Outer Islands for a bit. Hang on a second. I might as well show you, because I've got a really cool thing in it that I like. This is a little plugin I wrote. It'll take a minute to load because obviously big, meaty, nowhere near as light as the voxel based stuff. But give me a sec. You're like, oh no, Chris is doing stuff again. Oh yeah. Yeah, the way he's done it was, like I say, he was well ahead of his time. He was famous at the time for doing one of the very first snooker simulators. You know, I think it was Jimmy Whirlwind White's snooker. And he did all the 3D for that, because it was like really ahead of its time again. But I think the plan had always been that he wanted to do a sequel to Damocles or move it to the PC, and he just never really had the chance. And then, unfortunately, like I say, I think in the 90s or very early 2000s, he got ill and died, and the ownership of the title then passed on to his sister, or at least we assume it did. I know where she is because she's still living in his old house. So, like I say, I'm going to send the evidence manifest over for her, and she can just do what she wants. But I will mention to her that if she's interested, I'm sure Good Old Games will quite happily make it into something. Especially with all this information they've got access to if they want it. Come on, load. It's at 80%, by the way. It's funny, you know, with the wiki I did like all outside stuff, and like I really saw that as being my primary focus. And then I was doing kind of the similar thing with the Outer Islands, and then I got to the hospital inside of the Outer Islands, and I realised I was really getting into the actual hospital itself. The idea of this abandoned, fully mechanised hospital, where when you go in it actually thinks that you're a patient, and it starts acting as if you're a patient, and all of the machinery in the hospital's there basically to try and make sure that you stay in your room and you behave yourself and you have your medicine. And you're trying to explore because you're a detective. And I just love that. And it's good because obviously doing interior areas is a hell of a lot easier than doing like 10 kilometre by 10 kilometre outside areas with water simulation going on. So I'm having a bit of a blast doing it, to be quite honest. Come on, finish loading already. My God. So slow. Why? Why? Oh my God, it's still at 80% decryption. It's going to be the most boring stream you've ever been on since my last stream you came on. Although I am curious to see if anyone's gone on Twitch, because I'm multi-streaming, like a lunatic. Oh, it says live. That's always good. The Cris R development stream. It doesn't actually say anyone's watching it, which is never a good sign though. Oh, cripes, here it goes. It's actually on. Oh yeah. Well, it would have been, but the thing is, you'll kind of see why not in a minute. Oh God, I'm lost. Hang on a second. Let me go over here. I need to find the right area. Because I can... The thing is, remember what I was saying about automated hospitals? That's kind of the whole reason why everything's the way it is. So yeah, one giant plane would have been great, trust me on that. But basically what you've got is a hospital that's configured itself to have no people at all, and then you've entered it, and the only way you can get through the gate is you put your bracelet on. You find a bracelet that lets you in. It's basically a patient identification bracelet, but they don't come off, and so the hospital thinks that you're a patient, and you can reprogram it later to make it think that you're an engineer, but for the minute it definitely thinks you're a patient. Right, so if we look through here, you can see my Bob systems all zooming about. What's pretty cool is they're crowd-based, so they're all avoiding each other. They've all got tasks and stuff. And at the minute they're set to friendly, but they are going to try and block me. So here, eventually I'll come over here, and the clues will let me know that this is the way to come. Okay, this is the treatment room 3. So if I set up treatment room 3, there we go, that's treatment room 3, and that allows me to go through here. Again, I'm taking loads of shortcuts, but this is basically a giant kind of, this is where things are assembled and moved around, and we've got trains up there and stuff. It's one of those nice large areas that I quite like. If I go over there, that thing over there with the lightning is going to zap the hell out of me, so I'm going to avoid it. But if I go over here, remember what we said about maniples? These things are programmed to interact together. So if I go up here, they're going to want to try and block me from going up here. So watch. There we go. So they'll literally form this circle around me with only a space here so I can get out. Yes. Dishonored 2, that's right. I got in touch with the level designer for Dishonored 2 because I love that level so much. Dana, that's her name. I shot her over a couple of messages. Dana's really nice, and I've watched the documentary on the Clockwork level quite a few times because it's so good. But the piece that I've been making that's made out of all these pieces, you see, this operates under the same principles. So basically you've got this giant set of levels like this one, and I can't remember the layout either, so I'm definitely going to get lost. But at the minute the patrols are turned off, but inside here we've got like custodians, and the custodians are the actual ones that kind of stop you, and they can pacify you and knock you out and take you back to your ward, so you're unconscious and you wake up back in your ward again. And they're designed so that basically I can have 20 at once. One will take the role of commander. They've got different intelligence levels based on what I personally set inside of the actual blueprint itself. And when they're set to being suspicious, they'll monitor me. And when I'm doing anything suspicious, and suspicion is procedural, so for example, if I'm creeping, trying to keep my noise down, and one of them sees me, that's suspicious. If I try and go behind one that can't see me and another one sees it, that's suspicious. If I go near an object that I'm not supposed to go near, that's tagged, that's suspicious. And when they reach a certain suspicion level, they move into hostile mode. But not all at once, only the one that can see me. But if it's a high enough level, it will then inform the other ones, and they'll collectively go into a hostile mode. And what they'll do is, they'll start stalking me. But they won't just run up to me and try and knock me out. They're not allowed to know where I am. If they do work out roughly where I am, you'll find them just kind of standing there watching me and passing information on to other ones. And they'll form traps. So I'll turn a corner and there'll be 3 there. So I'll go, whoa, turn around, there'll be another one there and it'll knock me out. Or I'll go around this corner and up here and there'll be 1 there. So I'll turn around, there'll be 3 behind me. So I'll start running the other way, and now there's 3 here. And it kind of sets itself up deliberately, which is why there's all these kind of twisty, narrow corridors. If I go to, let me see, recent level custodian test. I don't think this is going to work because I don't have many custodians in it. But you should see, they basically work hand in hand with the Bob units. You're the first person I've actually shown this to as well, so hopefully you'll like this, right? So this is a placeable tool. This allows me to decide where maniples are going to be. And I've got all these Bobs here that are basically knocking around doing sod all. And then over here I've got 2 friendly custodian models, just here, using the old model. And I've got, these are just demo custodians. And then I've got this one here, which is a hostile custodian, right? So, if I move into an area that's technically a trap, so this is technically a trap area here. They lock me in, that one moves aside, the custodian walks in and knocks me out. And then I wake up here. So what it's done there is they've formed a maniple around me, alerted the custodian. As long as the custodian was in sight, the custodian can then appear, but the custodian isn't allowed to teleport. Okay, so if I'm here and I can see the custodian has to walk down, which takes a few seconds. If not, the custodian's allowed to appear behind this one, but only if I can't see it. It can't do a trick where it's like, it just looks like it's appeared. It has to feel faintly supernatural. So I'll show you it again. Watch that one. See what I mean? But the good thing about this is as well that you may have noticed they're all speaking. I didn't bother recording sound lines for them. Instead, what I did was I built a vocoder-based speech synthesizer. So each of them has like 400 different lines. The Bobs talk to each other, but they're basically really stupid and say really basic things. And the custodians can talk to Bobs and check status. They can talk to the player and check the player's status. When they're hunting you, they can use like hunting terms, and they can communicate with each other. And basically, because they're using this vocoder, it sounds horrible, which is why I've got the subtitles on as well. The Bobs have like really deep voices, whereas like the other ones have like much higher voices. Oh, it's dynamic. It's fully dynamic on the map. So basically, anywhere that I place this system, it will do that maniple. Okay, but apart from that, the entire stalking system will work anywhere that I have stalking set up. So if I have like a few of these little dudes over here, and bear with me because I really don't know if this is going to work in a live test, but let's just find out. So this one's hostile, I believe, and this one's hostile, and this one's hostile. So if I come in here, I don't want to be able to see any of them, but technically they should start to interact, especially once they can see me. Now they're aware of when I can see them. That's really important as well. Actually, I need to set their levels as well. Hang on. So over here, let me see. This one needs to be at least level 17, so coordinate with other ones. And I need to make sure that they are set correctly. It's hostile. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, that vocoder is great. Well, I don't need to record voice lines. That's what it's about. Because I got sick to death of recording voice lines, and oh god, it can see me. So I'll go over here around this corner. Right, these aren't set to hostile, so that's okay. I just need to set them to hostile, and this will work. Bear with. You know what it's like when you haven't used something for about a week, now you've forgotten exactly how you set them up to be hostile again. Hostile outcome, subdue and relocate. Sorry, bear with. Custodian quick setup. Service role nurse. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull in the new one. You may as well see the new one anyway. Custodians are fun. There it is. There's one. There's one. And there's one. And I'll just make sure their levels are set properly. Oh god, someone's calling me. Not the minute, Sam. I don't like phone calls. 17. This one can be level 10. And they're using a profile, so let me just check the profile. I can check up the perception and everything. All looks good. Right, so now when I move around, these things are going to be suspicious of me. And the more weird things I do, the more upset they're going to get. They also notice when I'm walking around. And then we'll talk to each other and stuff. Oh God, no, not you. See, this one's now planning to try and capture me. It uses all the various awareness tricks, basically. Oh yeah, and this thing, I didn't realise this was bloody patrolling as well. Right, I'm going to have to split for a bit anyway, so I shall catch you